Scott, Michael Ely, and Annie Howard, Megan Good, move into their new house in Napa Valley. Its previous owner, Charlie Pack, Dennis Quaid. Charlie explains that his wife, Ellen, passed away from cancer 2 years sooner and he will before long be moving to Florida to live with his daughter. At night, Scott and Annie welcome their companion Mike and his wife over for dinner. Scott is instantly irritated by Charlie, who appears overly friendly with Annie and keeps dropping by unannounced. At the point when Mike goes outside for a cigarette and faculties, he is being watched. The next morning, Mike sees a cigarette consume on the seat of his extravagant vehicle that wasn't there previously. At the point when Scott and Annie were at the bar, Annie comprehends that Scott met a few clients at a bar. He had gone behind her back with a client before they both got married. They return home and immediately start arguing. Charlie keeps on appearing without an invitation. While Scott was at work and Annie is home, Charlie seems seen cutting the grass. He explains he is not moving to Florida just yet and is staying at the Royal Hotel in town. Pressures ascend among Scott and Annie because of Scott's briskness toward Charlie. A neighbor tells Scott that Charlie's wife killed herself, and Scott requests Mike to investigate him. In the meantime, Charlie has developed an obsession with Annie and begins visiting the home when Scott is not around. One morning, while Scott is out jogging, a truck runs into him from behind. It turns out that Charlie was the driver. Mike uncovers that Charlie had gone into debt and was facing legal trouble and therefore was forced to sell the house to Scott and Annie. While Scott is in the medical clinic, Charlie appears at the house, and Annie asks him to join her for dinner, goes to keep an eye on her and is faced by Charlie, who pronounces he gets an opportunity to get back all he lost and should get rid of Scott. Charlie then kills Mike with an axe. Scott contacts Cassidy, who has changed her name. However, she hangs up when Scott specifies her childhood home and mentions her father. A while later, when Scott is driving home, Cassidy rings back and explains that Charlie killed his wife after she threatened to divorce him and take the house, and she now lives as far away from Charlie as she could get, and if he ever to show up, she would kill him. Scott also discovers Charlie has never stayed at the Royal. Charlie appears in the house and passionately declares his feelings for Annie. She claims she is feeling ill and calmly asks Charlie to leave, which he does. Annie then, at that point, goes upstairs and finds a secret entryway behind the material wardrobe and finds Charlie's root basement associated with the house, where he has been living since he sold the house and has stored Mike's body. Charlie finds that Annie has tracked down his basement. He knocks her unconscious and carries her upstairs. Scott returns home to find Charlie attempting to assault Annie. The two men struggle and Annie stabs Charlie in the back. Charlie staggers away to the cellar, where he retrieves a shotgun. Scott and Annie hide behind the bedroom door as Charlie searches the house for them. When Charlie enters the room, Scott strikes him in the head with a baseball bat and seizes the shotgun. Lying on the floor bleeding, Charlie insults Scott by saying Scott could never dare shoot him. As they stand over Charlie, Annie calls 911 and informs the dispatcher that her husband has just shot an intruder. Horrified, Charlie screams. Scott replies, "Go to hell," and shoots Charlie dead.